All right, listen up. We are back for another episode of the Construction Mentor Podcast. My name is Ike. I am your host. You can follow me on Instagram, TikTok at the Construction Mentor. You can catch this podcast on Spotify, Apple, or YouTube. Type in at the Construction Mentor on YouTube. You'll find it there. Today, we're going to get back into the interview format with somebody who once upon a time interviewed me. It's Blue Collar Bobby from he's the co-host of the Dope and Tape podcast. And we brought him in here today. We're just going to get right into it. We want to talk about sprinkler work. What is sprinkler work? I don't think a lot of young people realize that it's even a trade, right? They realize that there's sprinklers in buildings and in Hocus Pocus and in other movies when, shit hits the fan, those things go off. And that's about all they know, right? What they don't know is that no matter what city, no matter what market you're in, sprinkler, fire life safety systems, sprinkler systems are one of the highest paid trades, usually the highest paid trade in any market. I know it is in Boston where Bobby's at. But again, Blue Collar Bobby, host of the Dope and Tape podcast. Go check that on YouTube. And Bobby, why don't you and Blue Collar Bobby at Blue Collar Bobby on Instagram. Bobby, what do you make? What are the guys in Boston making after the fine school of fit and sprinklers?
As a foreman, you're going to make $72.
Is that in the check?
That's take home.
That's take home. And what's the benefits check after that?
The benefits. So we're right around like 112-ish.
Yeah.
Full package.
How many people know somebody that makes about $112 an hour? That's like $224,000 a year in the whole package. That's before an ounce of overtime. And oh, by the way, $144,000 to take home if you're a foreman. I think it's $136,000 to take home before overtime if you're not a foreman. So,
yeah, you're right on it. So it's and that's like in 4 or 5 years time too. You get in, you learn, you start at $28, knowing nothing. No, you could know nothing. You could literally not even know what a bandsaw is. You don't need to know what an impact is. You show up and you just say, "What do you want me to do, boss?" $28.
Yeah, $28, which is $56,000 a year. If you can't catch on to the math, guys, you multiply it by 2,000, whatever you make per hour, and that's how you get the salary for 50 weeks, right? So that's one of the biggest trending words on YouTube, right? I don't know if you've been playing with the keywords, but construction job, no degree or no experience. And Bobby just told you that you make $28 showing up day one, $28 an hour. That's
the union rate, and you get like it's like a $3 or $4 raise every 6 months for the 5 years until you journey out.
That's crazy. And what's crazier is Bobby's story, which is what he's going to share it in a second. But what is a sprinkler fitter? Like, what are people doing day to day? They're breaking their back. I don't know if you just saw it yesterday, but in the last 2 days, I posted something that went viral. And there's people arguing in the comment section, basically claiming that every single construction job is backbreaking. It's in cold weather or hot weather. And it's just about the most dangerous thing you can do. You're trashing your body. What exactly does a sprinkler fitter do day to day physically?
We don't do anything with lawn. We're not doing irrigation. I'm not protecting your grass. Lawn sprinklers save your grass. Fire sprinklers save your ass. So the first thing is everyone thinks that, whoever doesn't know, they think we're doing like lawn sprinkler. Like, what do you do in the winter? So fire protection, you got pipes. They cover every square inch of the entire building. And they're there to put out a fire whenever it happens, if it happens. And they don't all go off at the same time. They go off by heating element one at a time, wherever the fire is. And they're designed to keep up with said fire per hydraulic calculations, the fire pump, right, or the demand, Smart people figure that out.
Yeah, right. And hydraulic calculations would be like a mechanical engineer would design that for, water flow and water pressure inside of a pipe to make it go off, right?
Figure out the pipe sizes and how long it takes you to get there and how many elbows you got to take and all that. And there's people that figure that out, and then that's how you determine the pipe size and if you need a pump or not. And listen, there's pipes. They have to go to every room. We're bringing pipes to every room. It's a lot of work. Mm-hmm. But the back breaking, back in the day, yeah. Back in the day, for sure. If you're thinking of your grandfathers or even maybe your fathers. But now it's like it's smarter. It's not harder. We got chain falls. We got lulls. Everything. You got the safety guys making sure you're not going to get hurt. And you should be making sure you're not going to get hurt too. But there's people that are there looking for that now. But you could get hurt. There's people that will overdo themselves. And I feel you have more of a danger of getting hurt than if you were in an office protected all day. But
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think there's no doubt about that. I mean, the stats are still, overwhelmingly, more dangerous, I guess we would say, in construction. But to your point, like when he says chain fall, these are basically rigs. It's almost like a rope and pulley, but with chains that lift up, heavy pipe. Like,
that's it.
like Bobby's not encouraged to pick up a 4-inch, 10-foot stick of pipe on his own.
But you do
Like,
have guys that will. And in the heat of the moment, sometimes there
right.
you got like heroes, and that's where you get hurt. But if you got a 300 or 400 pound valve, for instance, and it's got to go 29 feet in the air, I mean, you could try to be a hero if you really want to. I'm gonna get the chain fall. We're gonna set an anchor, and we'll put it out there like gentlemen, and nobody's gonna get hurt. We'll go home the way we showed up. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's got to be the way that it was bid. That's you got to do it the safe way.
Right. And if you didn't know, Bobby's a gentleman. If you couldn't tell by his mustache, he's absolutely a gentleman. So in most of what you're doing, I mean, you're not really, you don't weld, right?
Nope.
You order pipe to length. It comes out to length. You thread it, or maybe you what do they
A
call
lot
it?
of a lot of my stuff I'm
Groove it
doing
for
on
the
site.
yeah.
But if you were on like if we were on a high rise, mostly every piece of pipe's going to come out. You're not going to have like the downtime of trying to cut it back to size or whatever. You just order it because you're always something to move on to. There's always something that you can move, pivot, stay productive, order the piece, comes out tomorrow, go back to that. Whereas where I am right now, I'm on a fab on site where they sent me a print. I'm last in. I got bulk pipe, mechanical tees, and I got to put it in amongst everybody else. And they gave me a suggestion on where to go. So that's
Nice.
like I have a hydraulic cutter, hydraulic groover, and we're taking measurements and we're cutting them as we go. We're trying to get as many straight pieces as possible, obviously, in a line.
Right. Again, the word hydraulic. It's all about pressure and using other people's brains to save your muscles and save your back to get the hard stuff done.
The tools have come a long way, man. The tools.
I don't think people understand that. Like you look at some of these tools and even the tools that are coming out, and it's almost like people, especially the older guys, they like poo-poo them, or they roll their eyes at them, and it's like, oh, back in my day, like
I get that in my comments.
I don't know if you saw the thing. I forget what company's putting it out, but I think you might have shared it. It was the guy who, it's like a crane almost that like ties around your belt that goes up your back over the front of you, and it
like
has
an exoskeleton thing.
Yeah, it's like an exoskeleton thing that like lifts up heavy things. Oh, it lifted up a hammer drill, like a huge hammer drill.
I seen that. Yeah, I think I did share that.
Yeah. So literally, the guy doesn't even have to lift it. He just kind of has to like lean forward.
It takes a lot of the pressure off. Yeah.
So how long have you been in sprinklers?
So junior year of high school ended. We got that break before senior year starts. I did sprinkler every day through that whole summer, working at UMass Amherst. I was hired as temp summer help, working directly under my father. Father picked the job I was going to. He picked the people I was going to be working under. I wasn't 18, so I shouldn't have been working, so that time didn't count. But I learned a lot during that time. And
well, I counted for that.
And so I also lost a lot of sleep that summer because all my buddies were partying. That was junior year summer. That was like beach week, and so I was like working all day and then catching up with everybody all night and still trying to get to work. I had to get to work because Pops was bringing me. So then finished high school.
Your father was a sprinkler fitter. That was his
Yes,
gig.
sir. And my grandfather.
Oh, so sprinkler fittings in your blood.
Third generation
sprinkler fitter. Wow. Yeah, it's definitely in your blood. You got going early.
Oh yeah. So since June 2008, full-time since.
Full-time since.
And I graduated in high school June 2008.
June 2008. Okay. So you're as old as me. We graduated at the same time.
Yep.
So when you were a kid, junior high-ish, I mean, was it a foregone conclusion your future was fitting pipe? What were you like as a kid in junior high and high school?
I knew for a fact when I turned 18 I was going to have to be a sprinkler fitter. And so I went to are you from Massachusetts?
Yeah, I'm South Shore. I went to high school in Brockton. I grew up in Abington.
I went to Leominster High School. I think we used to
Yeah.
smoke you guys in football.
Well, I went to a small Catholic school, so Brockton High. Yeah, no, Brockton High wasn't
Brockton.
me.
We used to face Brockton and
Yeah.
Everett. It was a vocational school, and so
Okay.
and that's another thing I talk about a lot on our podcast is that you won't find sprinkler or fire protection in a vocational school. So I was forced to go through the plumbing trade just because the plumbing trade has all the tools I needed to get acquainted with, and that was kind of part of the plan. Like I knew I was going to Leominster High School. I knew I was going to go to the plumbing trade. And so by the time
What
I got
did
out of high school, I already knew fitting allowances and how to thread pipe, and I knew how to pull wrenches and have good leverage. And I had my OSHA 10, like you get that in the vocational school. Now they need 30. Back then you only needed 10.
how important or what? How important was the opportunity that vocational school was for you at that age? I mean, how much did it put you ahead of all the other people that you see coming into your trade now, which again is the most highest paying trade?
So far. Well, being 18 years old so far. Because you get guys that come in at 25 or 30 and they're on the money. They pick it up quick. They're listening, they're paying attention. But when you get like an 18-year-old that's never held a pipe wrench before in his life, that's like a little bit of a learning curve. Or how to stand on a ladder. You don't want to set up right under. That's everybody's thing. They put the ladder like directly under. Like you got some reach, or you also got some lean. So you want that ladder back a little bit. So that was things that I got to learn in high school.
Yeah, it's almost like, you could be like 20 years old and you're an adult, right? But the first like 12 years of your life didn't count because like you don't really know. Like your life only starts when you become to a certain like consciousness level, right? So your first couple of years in the industry, you don't know what you're doing. People are going to be making jokes about going and getting a board stretcher and getting a bucket of steam from the van and stuff like that.
I was like the boss's kid.
Right.
So
how did he treat you? Did you get it easier or harder than everybody else?
Well, like I didn't get like the bucket of steam and all that. Like the guys were good to me. All the guys were good to me. No one was really screwed with me there. And my father made sure that I was learning. You put it that way. Like I was learning every day. It wasn't always like nice and rainbows and fun. Like if I fucked up, I heard about it. Right. And my mother was kind of part of the business too. So when I say that my father's a sprinkler fitter and then I say my grandfather, everybody assumes it was my father's dad, but it was my dad met my mother and my mother's dad was the sprinkler fitter.
Oh, really?
And so then my father came into the business that way. And so yeah, that's a key thing.
Was it one of those situations where he's like, you're going to take care of my daughter, you're going to provide for her, and if you don't have a better way, here's a wrench?
That's it. Yeah, you're gonna basically join the family business. So he was able to learn directly from him, and he, my grandfather ran his own business. Then my father had the opportunity to get into a nice big company out of Marlboro at the time.
Okay. So I think you touched on two things that can make all the difference in a young person's life. A lot of people, and I'm sure you probably got crap for it. You probably heard about it. Like, did you get crap for going to a Votech when you were younger, or did you hear other kids making fun of it?
So the Leominster High School was actually both. It was I don't know however it's considered, but it had both. So I had friends that were in high school with me, I graduated with, that didn't do trade. And sometimes you would see them in the hallways. They were still there. They just didn't. You could opt out of it.
Gotcha. Okay.
But to answer your question, yes. Like you were looked down on. Like we were in dirty jeans and untied boots, and we were driving around in short buses. Like the way that it worked where we were is every class literally had a short bus, and like they would get a permit. The carpenters would frame it with their teacher. We would plumb it. The electricians would wire it, and we would build a house and we would sell it to Habitat for Humanity, for instance, or it was like a low cost house that we got to learn. And there we are, like driving away from the school in our short buses. It says like the plumbing shop. So you really everyone ragged on us. How could you not? But at the same time, they're sitting in like AP algebra or whatever that's worth, and we're going to donkeys right now.
Yeah. So not only were you probably made fun of and looked down on for being the dirty kids in the jeans and the boots, but you were on a short bus.
On the short bus, yeah.
And now, so for the young people out there, that, you know, are thinking about maybe even going into a high school or going into a trade school after high school because they missed the opportunity to get the VOTEC education in high school. What do you make compared to some of your friends that were in AP algebra?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on like their major and what they got into, but I know that, right off the bat, I was making money with I had no debt to I guess I can't say I had no debt because I mean I was buying shit.
Well, yeah,
I was
you had no debt from education. You had
I
debt
showed up to
from
the bank and I would show them my sprinkler paycheck and I'd be like, yeah, like I live in my parents' basement for free, and they'd be like I could get any loan. So I was like I had
yeah,
2 motorcycles, a truck, a Mustang, like I just car collector. So I had debt that way, but
right.
immediately earning money. And I think before I even had my journeyman license, I had made 100 grand. Like in my third year as an apprentice, I was able to gross 100 grand that year
Yeah. So 21 years old, 20 years
before
old.
I was even licensed in the state.
Yeah,
And that's
100 grand.
and for anyone with their head sideways, that was because of Massachusetts prevailing wage. So
Mm-hmm.
I spent that whole year on fourth tier rate or fifth tier rate, whatever you consider it, and I was on the state rate, making like 60% of big money for living at home at the time.
Yeah. So prevailing wage, for those of you who don't know, that's when basically you're either in a union job, which I know you're in now, but you were not then. But even if you're in a non-union job, when you get on a job that's funded by the state, has federal state funding, usually there's Davis-Bacon law or prevailing wage law that sets a minimum rate. And for the non-union guys, they love those jobs because their hourly wage can like double, basically, right?
Uh, Triple. We
Triple.
were
Okay,
we were
yeah.
tripling like our wage, and the company that I worked for at that time, that's all that they did. We were doing like the courthouses and the schools, the high schools, the middle schools, all that stuff, and that's all state funded. And so it would
Right.
be those are the jobs where it's interesting because we were obviously the non-union, and like the brickies would be union, the carpenters would be
Mm-hmm.
union, and then you got one of them jobs that's like mixed, which got to be hard for a GC, I'd imagine. For the most part, you get along, but there's
Yeah.
always a little clash when the trades. Some trades have to work together in certain aspects of the job.
Now, how'd you jump from union to non-union? What was that conversation like in your head? How did that come about?
So it was a little bit of. I feel like I was good at what I was doing, so I got put on a good job, which was in the jurisdiction of the local that I'm in right now. And we were at the time the only non-union shop on that job. So we were right in their jurisdiction. I guess they had just missed it for whatever reason, and I was there. I was like a brand new. I was pretty brand new. I was a journeyman foreman, and I had a brand new apprentice. He was like maybe a year in, and we were doing this entire middle school all by ourselves versus like all these union guys. And
Mm,
so as a sprinkler fitter, I got to work really close with electricians. They do all the fire alarm. They wire all my devices, everything that we
mm-hmm.
use. They have to wire. So I knew I had to like at the very minimum be friends with them. But it was hard with the tin knockers and the pipe fitters, and we were able to like befriend the plumbers. It was cold, and we didn't have a shack. I never knew about a shack. In the non-union, you never heard about a shack.
Right.
And then I get on this union job, and we're freezing, and we're sitting in our personal cars, and we're dragging in our personal tools, and these guys are in like these plywood rooms with heaters and all this, and the plumbers would let us sit in there after they like they would see us suffering in the cold, and they'd be like, we can come in and warm up, and then we were able to sit with them, and then the organizer was showing up one day literally at the bottom of my ladder.
You mean the union organizer, like a recruiter came, basically,
Yep.
and
And
stood under your ladder.
he looked up to me and he said, "Where's your foreman?" And I'm like, I'm the foreman. I remember my first thought is he was a safety guy. And man,
Who's this fucking guy?
the hard hat drives me nuts. So it's like rarely on. But he said he's with the 550 and they were looking for people, and he told me how we were in the jurisdiction and we just met it and this and that. And so when I had told my father about that, Pops was like, "You got to jump both feet. Call this guy in the morning." And so that was that.
Really?
The rest was history. And I was the first one to jump.
Usually, like the old school non-union guys are kind of like
Nah,
anti-union.
Pops knew. I remember before I even got in, he always had talked about 550 and it being the dream, but it was hard if you didn't know anybody.
Yeah.
We have a sign up process now that I've learned about. Every June you can sign up. I think we take 20, maybe 30 people a year, but there's like a lot of people that sign up. There's a lot of people that want to get in, so you're fighting against thousands sometime.
So that's important, right? A lot of people don't realize that to get into the union, you basically have to, there's one time a year to sign up, like local 537 pipe fitters, and I think maybe the 223 laborers is January. Every January is the only month that you can go to the hall and sign up. What Bobby just told you is that if you want to be a sprinkler fitter in the city of Boston, that's in June. If you are in another city where you're interested in any kind of a union, don't just expect to just apply anytime. Go online, figure it out. It's
Right.
all public information.
And you could show up and want to apply, and they'll probably humor you with an application. But
now,
and it's not just like being salty or whatever. I can explain it. It's because we have an apprenticeship program, and the apprenticeship program starts at a certain time. And if you don't get hired at this certain time, then you won't be with the program. And if you pick people up early or you pick people up late, then it just you want everybody to learn and progress through the program together. We have a state of the art school where everybody can learn. You take classes after work, and there's valves and a fire pump, and it's in Weymouth.
Yeah, so you're going to school while you work a couple nights a week, which isn't bad because you're not paying for it. Well, I guess you pay for it in dues, but you're making a lot of money while you do it. Now, you said one thing that a lot of people object about, and it's that you got to know somebody to get in, right?
It's
and
tough.
I think a lot of trades, if one's not available, a lot of trades are like advertising for people to come in. They don't have enough people walking in the door. And maybe you guys might have so many people coming in because of how much you guys get paid. I mean, you are head and shoulders above a lot of other trades. What's another way? I mean, I know like in 537, my dad always had people coming in and driving a van for a year or two and
That's
working in
another
the
good
shop.
way.
Right.
That's probably this. I'd say number one way would be like an uncle or you're someone's son, or that does help as much as someone says it
Military.
doesn't. It definitely helps. Military helps.
Military
So
helps.
then the big things and the elephant in the room is always like minority, city resident, female. Like they'll go way ahead of the list. All those things. City resident, I think, being probably the most important because it's so expensive to live in Boston. It's hard to find city residents. And if you have that, every job that we're on requires those. So if you say you have a sprinkler crew is usually only 2 or 3 people, and we're
Right.
required to have a city resident, a female, minority. There's all stipulations. So that's another way to get in, or you just show up every June and sign up, and you just keep knocking on the door, and you
Right.
just let them remember your face.
So there's two ways that I would suggest to do it. Either obviously somebody, or literally go in the phone book, call every single company and ask for a job either in the shop or driving a van. Right, driving a van,
Oh, yeah.
you're a gopher. You go for this, go for that. Go to the supply house for a bunch of elbows or dope and tape or whatever. And right, wrong, or indifferent. Not here to talk politics. Not here to talk affirmative action or anything like that. The truth of the matter is, there's a narrative out there that women and minorities are not welcome into the industry. That isn't true.
Not at all.
If anything, and that they'd get blackballed on getting into these unions. If anything, you will go to the front of the list. If you don't look like me and Bobby, and you want to make $140,000 a year, go into whether it's this union hall or another one. Go in there, right? We can all benefit from more people earning that kind of money. We want you to go in. Okay.
And what you're saying about the truck driver thing, that's spot on. That would probably be the second way to go. Is you'd be the truck driver for one of these union shops for a year or two, and that's it. And you still sign up. You're still signing up, but that's a great way to get in. And then the way that I got in was it was at time of full employment, so the bench is empty. There's no one on the bench. For anyone who doesn't know what the bench is, when you get laid off, you go to the theoretical bench and you wait for work. And so when the bench is empty, if a company calls and needs a guy, we're able to call local 669 and see if we can pick up some guys. And if they're completely busy, which is when I got in, then they'll go look for the best non-union guys they can find.
Right.
And typically it's going to be like a smaller company because they're going to want like the whole company to come. In our case,
So
that's what happened.
So basically, when you're a union shop, say you got 10 guys, they're all busy, you need an 11th guy. But by union rules, you have to go to the union for more guys, and they'll give you more guys.
Yep.
When the union doesn't have any more to give you, you can go to another union, and if they don't have, and usually, like I think Cambridge is usually one union, Boston's usually another union, and then you get Worcester's another union. So when those guys don't have anybody available, then you're allowed to go recruit. That's how Bobby got in.
Yep. And there was a
so
lot
how
of
long
us
you
that
been in
got
the
in that
union?
way. I got in 2014.
2014. Okay. Now,
coming up on 10 years.
Coming up on 10 years. That's pretty good. And when do you think you're getting out?
I don't know. I'll probably have to work till I'm like 90 at this rate. I'm not sure.
Yeah. I mean, to pay for all those toys that you bought?
No, I traded all the toys for the house.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. You're supposed to do 30 in the union, right? If all goes well.
Yeah.
If
Yeah,
all
which
goes
isn't bad.
well,
So
30.
that'd be what? That'd be
10 years in, I'm
2044.
35.
That'd be
55.
54. 55.
54,
That's not bad
50,
at all.
Yeah. No, not at all.
Yeah. And I mean, you're making more than my father ever made. And my father's sitting in Florida, and on his pension and annuity alone, I think he's getting 120. And whatever handyman stuff, mowing lawns or whatever he's doing down there right now.
Oh, that's
he's
awesome.
Gonna make, I think 3 days a week. I think he's gonna make like
Keep him
140
busy.
grand. Yeah,
It's
65
awesome.
years old, collecting, and now he gets to collect Social Security. My dad's doing fine.
Yeah,
and
the pension
he's in
and the
good,
pension
and he's in
and the
good health.
annuity's big. It's big, and that's that's the driving factor is the pension and the annuity.
The only thing that you can't do when you are retired, and my dad refuses to do, he can't touch HVAC systems because he was a pipe fitter.
Big no-no. Big no-no.
Yeah,
you're like forbidden from. You can do anything else but compete.
Yeah. So you could
right?
do electrical work, you could do HVAC, you just can't touch a sprinkler system.
I could like legally right now start a plumbing business or an electrical business, but like if I were to go and move one head on the side, big illegal. Don't do that.
Yeah,
Stay away.
Your retirement's gone.
See ya. Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. But yeah, a lot of guys do that. Like, so I know of a guy who stopped. He made a core. He started a core company, like core and holes.
Really?
Sprinkler fitter turned union core guy.
That's
pretty
a random
cool.
task. That's a hyper specific task.
Yeah, it's big though. Like especially.
It must be worth it though.
And you get like this big. If you got like we came across a 40-inch slurry wall. We needed a 12-inch hole cut through it. Like you're not just a normal guy doing that.
No.
That's a big old bit.
Actually, concrete cutting's big down in Florida. And basically what he's talking about when he's talking about coring is, when you build a building, you see all these concrete pads go up, all these floors that are made out of concrete, and then you have pipes and everything running through them. Well, everything that runs through them, they don't always plan for that ahead of time. Or the building's been there for 200 years or whatever, and there's a bunch of concrete, and you need to literally poke a hole in it. That's what coring is. So somebody made a business out of it.
Yeah.
Now, when you go back to the beginning, you made some mistakes, right?
Oh yeah.
Back in your early 20s. I mean, you came out of high school. You're 20, 21 years old. You're making $100 grand. You're buying all the toys, which I think is a huge problem, right? It's almost like the military when they tell the military people not to buy a truck, not to buy a car with the check that you get when you get back from Iraq, right? It's like construction people have the same problem. I know so many people that, they get the pontoon boat, they get the fucking quad, they get the motorcycle, they get like trucks, everything.
Man.
And the other problem that we have in the industry is obviously drinking and doing drugs.
Yeah, I did that for many years. Very bad. And very, very bad. I was the designated driver, and I was the designated drunk driver.
Was that?
Yeah, so I probably could have paid a lot more.
Or was it?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like I feel like it's just like shit. I'd probably catch flack for it, but it's like the American thing, man. Like I was trained to drink, like in high school. Like it just like it's America. I don't know, everything I was doing, I was drinking. Anytime I was drinking for everything, man. Everything was drinking, and then you're chasing a bag at the end of the night, and I was always driving. And I got a DUI, crashed my dad's truck. Um,
How
luckily
old
I
were
got
you
the
then?
bag out the win. Luckily I got the bag out the window, but
Yeah.
Pops didn't get his truck back, and I got a DUI. I got a DUI that night. That was 2011.
So you were 21. It
I
was
was 22.
22. It was when you really
Yeah.
started making money.
Yeah. I was really spending money.
You were really
Man,
spending money.
I was sliding that card anywhere, whatever. It doesn't matter. What's the tab? Who cares? Fucking, we were sliding that thing, and just reckless driving. I had a I had a 2007 Yamaha R1 Raven with the special sprockets and the special tire and the pipe, and that thing was fast.
Yeah,
and I would be
dude.
and I would go to the bar on it, and
That's that,
it was
and
and
nobody ever pulled you over.
they were not catching me
Oh, you
on the
just screw.
I would never stop on them. I would never stop on the bike.
So I did much of the same. I flipped my truck over when I was 17, and yeah, and almost died in the ambulance. Almost bled out, the whole thing. And I think you and we had a very parallel upbringing in Massachusetts, where everything revolved around drinking, and whether you went to college or whatever, 18, 19, 20, it was an extension of the same thing. And then when you get into the construction industry, it is further an extension of that. I mean, heavy drinking in the construction industry, especially with a lot of the older guys. It's almost like a rite of passage.
Lunchtime.
Friday for the guys, lunchtime. Thursday is Friday for the guys, right?
Oh yeah, Sully's Tap on Thursdays.
Sully's Tap on Thursdays.
So
Longest bar in Boston.
I didn't quit drinking until 2019. So I had my son I got married 2015. I had my son 2016. I like that definitely put a damn. I wasn't going out. Like I wasn't going out and doing the crazy gallivanting. And I sold the motorcycle before I got the house. But I was still like, I could come home and drink a liter of Jameson like nothing. Everyone's home, everyone's safe, but I'm drinking a liter of Jameson tonight. And I probably had 4 tall boys at lunch.
Pretty normal.
That was normal. And like I would wake up at 4:30 and like do it again. Like I wasn't like that guy that would show up and say I was hungover, because I didn't want the guys at work to think that, like, when someone shows up and they say that they were out all night drinking, you automatically expect them to not give you anything, right? They automatically like, oh yeah, this guy's not going to perform. So I remember saying that once and getting a reaction from Foreman saying that he's like, oh, what do you think? You're 75% like today or something? And I was like, I'm probably like 50% today. He's like, all right, I got you, but at the end of the day, you're going to give me 50% of your pay if I got to pick up your slack. There's only 2 of us and we're a team. And so if you're only 50%, that means I have to pick that up. And then I never forgot that. So then I was 100% anytime he ever asked that question again, whether I was on no sleep or 2 hours of sleep or whatever it was.
It's funny. When I came in, it was almost like a badge of honor. It was like part of the challenge, right? Like you go out for lunch with the guys on a Thursday or a Friday, and maybe you go back to work, maybe you don't. And it was like you drink all night, all the way till, you close down Biddy Early's. And God knows, where you went in Chinatown after that.
Yeah.
But no matter what, you were on site the next day, 100% ready to go. It was like, it was all part of it. Like, you want to drink with the big boys and you want to be a big boy, then you better get back at work with the big boys the next day.
Well, the trick was to drive to the job from the bar. Put the bar stools up, say bye to everybody, drive right to the job, just kick the seat back. Like, that's how you get the most sleep. And then you're there, right? And at least like someone's gonna bang on the window. Just tell them
I know
you got
somebody
there, like, half an hour early.
I know somebody that used to put toothpaste and stuff in the ceiling at the bar, like in the above the ceiling
at the
tile.
end of the night.
Yeah, like so you can go back in the morning when they. Yeah,
that lifestyle gets old, man. Like it's just you just keep doing it. It's an endless cycle.
What made you stop that? What was the tipping point where you were like, dude, too much, I can't do this anymore?
was I at? I was at my niece's like 4th birthday party or something, and there was no whiskey. I drank a handle of Sailor Jerry's at like my niece's 4th or 5th birthday party, and
That's disgusting.
that was bad. There was
That
like
is
this. There was like
disgusting.
this much. There was like this much left in the bottle, and I got belligerent, and like so I just like I would do stupid things, and then I would wake up that next morning with that deep regret of just like I don't really
Mhm.
remember what I did, but I know it's like people pissed at me, and then like whatever drunk phone calls you made, like you'd wake up like with that regret,
Mhm.
and then I had tried to quit a couple times, and I just couldn't. It never lasted. I'd go like 30 days, and I'd be like, oh, I went 30 days, and then I would like just binge drink like crazy, and then one time I
Mhm.
had like 4 or 5 months under my belt, and then my best friend was getting married, and I was the best man, and I wasn't gonna not throw the best bachelor party you've ever had in your life down in Atlantic City. So
Mhm.
we tore it up, and then I drank for like another year after that. So finally, like enough was enough, and I think that I never would tell when I was trying to quit, like when I would do my little 30-day stints or whatever. I'd never like tell anybody because I didn't want to be held accountable. And
Right.
so this time I started telling everybody I'm never drinking again. And like most of us, I'm a man of my word, and I want to hold my word. And so I just started telling everyone I'm never drinking again. And then you would get like I was drinking everywhere. I would out drink anywhere we went. Like I could drink 45 beers on Halloween and be out giving candy.
Mhm.
So for me to say I'm never drinking again, it was always just like you could see the doubt on their face when I would say it. You could
Right.
feel the doubt in the room. And so that I got high off of that doubt, man. And I went with that. And after like the first few weeks, well, I should start with I crutched really hard at first with weed, mad weed, copious amounts of extracts in the dab
I'm
rig, the
sorry.
torch.
I'm laughing because it's just been a long time since I'm not used to talking to people from Boston anymore. The way you structure some sentences and the words that you use, it takes you back real quick.
Oh shit.
Even when you text me.
Um,
So tons of weed, copious amounts,
copious amounts of pot, man. Like
copious.
and at that time, the dispensaries so I have like you can go outside and smell weed because there's so many dispensaries now in Massachusetts.
Mhm.
They're everywhere,
Well,
and they're
especially up in Lawrence, in
eh,
like the northern part of the state, right? That's kind of
we
like
got a
what they're doing
lot
up there
right. We
now.
got a lot. I'm in Fitchburg, and there's a lot right in Fitchburg. There's one right near
Yeah.
Great Wolf where I get off the highway, and
Hmm.
so I was able to you're able to go in there, right? So I'm fresh off the booze, right? I'm just gonna go on the pot for a little bit. And you like, dude, I got a menu, and there's like chocolates, there's gummies, there's
Yeah.
so that helped a lot to get to stop drinking a bottle of Jameson every day. I was drinking a liter of Jameson after work every night,
Every night,
every night.
dude.
And if it wasn't a liter of Jameson, I would be drinking I would go to Sully's Tap. I was working right near the garden.
Yeah.
And so I'd go to Sully's Tap at like 11:45, put down 4 16-ounce Bud Heavies for like $2. You get
Hmm.
the tall boys. And then I would get like 4 24-ounce blueberry twisted teas and a 10-pack of blueberry Smirnoff nips. That would be if I wasn't drinking a liter of Jameson. So, dude, it was
Right.
bad. It was bad. Lot of drink. Everything I was drinking. If I was fishing, we were drinking. If we were on vacation, I was drinking. No matter what, we were snowboarding. Everything. Four
I
wheeling.
mean, I think a lot of people can identify with that. I mean, I know I did. I 100% did. It used to be nothing for me to have 30 beers on my own. I remember one time two of my friends actually challenged me to that I couldn't drink a 30 before they could together, right? So me on two.
Yeah. Oh,
And yeah, you know what I mean?
I've done those
And
too.
and
Those challenges.
and I only lost by one. But like, in bachelor parties, and my friends always want to go skiing and snowboarding, and for whatever reason, I didn't like it because I always thought that I would kill myself because I knew I would drink too much skiing and snowboarding.
And you can go
Um,
fast. Like I get on that snowboard, and that's the other thing. I'd just be going fast, man. Whew.
oh, dude, my friends get bombed when they do it, and I'm like, dude, you guys are gonna kill yourselves.
Right into a tree.
Um, right into a tree. Um, So, I think a lot of people can identify with that. And so it doesn't sound like you did AA or anything. It was just, you decided you were going to stop. You announced it to everybody. You fed off of the negative energy and the doubt that people had. And then that was it. There was
Uh,
no other.
when I told my father's truck, I had forced AA. I had 6 months of forced AA, and that shit made me want to drink so bad, bro.
Really?
Like I would go, yeah, I had to go to drunk driving classes. I had to go to because even though I blew the breathalyzer, I was almost 4 times the limit. I pled guilty, so I had because I wanted to get my license back as soon as possible because I didn't want my intoxicated mother driving me to work in one of my vehicles because that's how it was. My mom, now I don't have a license, I can't drive legally, so now my mom has got a bottle of vodka in the center console of my brand new Wrangler 4-door 6-speed, and she's driving me, dropping me off in Needham. She's driving an hour to drop me off and pick me up.
No
And I'm
bueno.
like, so I needed my license back ASAP. And so to do that, I had to plead guilty, blow the breathalyzer. I got my license back in 75 days. And I paid for that tremendously on my insurance for the next 10 years.
I'm sure you did.
So I was able to just get my license back, and that kind of started to get me back on track. But man, the DUI was bad. I forgot where I was going with that.
So I had asked you, no AA, which you went to forced.
Oh, and
so
then
it was just announcing yourself and holding yourself accountable. Like that's what worked for you.
That's what did it. Yeah.
And what
And well,
what would you say?
also I had my 2 best friends had got over some serious drugs. I got into the Percocets, and then one of them into the dope. So they both overcame that, and I was like, I had that on my back. Like, there's no way that I can't kick this booze if these guys can do this. Like,
Right.
you're not supposed to be able to quit heroin.
No.
So
No, the relapse rate's insane.
Yeah. So that was it. That also gave me some strength. And then like the kids, man, and my marriage, and my job. So like
what is being sober done for you there? I mean, better. You're on a different kind of high now with the way that you're able to operate and be a father and husband.
exponentially. Yeah, huge. You're just there, I'm like not always having a beer in my hand, or I run to the packy and just like career took off. The career took off, and obviously my wife didn't, want me drunk every night. She was upset with that. I think anyone's wife would be. And then just being able to also so I guess another factor was my I got my U.S. Constitution right here. I don't know if you can see it because we're panned out, but I'm real big on my rights, and particularly my my right to carry. And I couldn't do that if I was drunk. That's totally illegal, and that's very dangerous.
Oh
So
yeah, you're fucked if you get caught with that.
So that was another thing. I want to be able to express that right, and maybe carry a firearm around, and like that's never going to happen if I'm drunk. So then it was always locked up, and I wanted to be able to. What if like in the middle of the night, I would start to think. I started like getting these as my son was getting older. I'm like, what if the house caught on fire and I'm shit faced? Like sometimes my wife wouldn't be able to wake me up. I'd just be passed out on the floor drunk. She couldn't wake me up if she tried. She would take videos. I wouldn't wake up. What if the house is on fire? What if there's a burglar? What if we have to evacuate? Like, what if there's an emergency? Like, and I'm just shit faced. Like, this is bad. I got to be able to protect my family.
That was a big realization that I had, and that's why I actually don't feel comfortable. I mean, my drinking, I've cut down 99%. I maybe drink a couple times a year, if that now. I got so drunk one night that I wouldn't have been able to protect my wife if something happened when we were out, right? And fucked up things happen when you're out in the world. There's a realization that I think a lot of young guys need to have, that we as men are responsible for protecting our kids, protecting our wives in any and all situation and whatever life throws at us. And if you're drunk and you can't handle it, I mean, that's whatever happens is on you.
Yeah,
and that's
well
a harsh thing to realize. And you don't really realize it until you're there, and hopefully not, reality doesn't slap you in the face. Talk about you. So when you say your career took off, what kind of opportunities were opening up for you?
I think that I was just able to take more on. I was like for myself, be able to take more responsibility for things. And so when I first got into the union, when I was non-union, let's face it, I was drinking and I was I was still striving. I was climbing a ladder. Like there was not the drinking wasn't slowing me down. But when I
Mhm.
joined the union, that was they kind of got the carpet pulled out from under me. So I went from the kind of one of the top dogs to say foreman position, young. Everyone I was working with was buddies. A lot of the guys were looking up to me. Now I joined the union. I come in through the back door.
Mhm.
I was like backdoor Bobby. So I'm in local 550. They were calling me 549. I would show up on Friday. Friday was is you go out drinking on Thursdays back sometimes, and the Fridays would be breakfast. And so I would show up to the shack
Mhm.
on Fridays. It would be an empty shack. They would go to breakfast without me. Um, so a lot of them didn't like the way that I got into the local, but it was their organization that did it. Like I didn't come banging on their door; they came to my job.
Yeah,
But a
right.
lot of them, prior to me getting in, you would have to repeat school. Like if you wanted to come in with your license and you were really good, they would just say, all right, like repeat one last year of school, even if you were doing it for 20 years or something. You just redo 1 year of school, and then you could be
Mhm.
in. I didn't accept that offer. I didn't like that offer. Um, I didn't hear that offer, and I didn't know that that was an offer that went out there. So when I got in, I was asked if I had to redo school, and I said no. Why? Why would I ever do that? Like I have a Massachusetts state license, and that like rubbed people the wrong way because in that room there was people that had taken that offer allegedly in the
Yeah,
in
right.
in the past. So I had a target on my back at that first company that I went into, and at this time my father was um, he was dying of cancer and he was struggling, but he was proud that I was in the union. But I didn't want to tell him that it was kind of shittier than where I was. Like I was on high rises, I was doing like these crazy big jobs. That was awesome, but like the camaraderie wasn't there for me. Like I was contemplating going back to where I was.
Right.
But we were kind of already too far along for that. And so it was just like a lot of drama to say, and it was tough fitting in.
I'm sure it was.
I think
So
I
what's
was
next? What do you think is next for Bobby? I mean, you want to open up your own shop? Do you want to get bigger jobs? Do you want to go into management? What do you think?
Um, I mean, so the place I'm at now, I worked at that place from 2014 to 2017,
Mhm.
and I remember being on the Prudential. I was in Prudential Center at like 3:30 on 4th of July weekend, and like my wife and kid were already up at Winnipesaukee with my friends and everything, and I had to do that long trek. And I called a buddy, and this is another good thing about the union when you're in is that I was able to call a buddy who was at a different company, and I said, do you think you're hiring? And he said, yeah, we just picked up a guy. Like maybe we could pick up one more. Can you call him and see if he'll put me on? And so then he texted me back. He said, yeah, leave him a voicemail. And so I was able to call the outside super where I am now, leave him a quick voicemail of my situation. He called me right back, and I was able to start that next week. I called the previous company, tried to give my 2 weeks, but they wouldn't take it.
Yeah, that
and
happens.
uh and so the guy that I was trying to get the job from, who I'm with now, he kind of told me that situation might happen, and he said we'll take you in 2 weeks or we'll take you on Monday. And so then there I was, and at that time I was still drinking, and I was drinking for a couple of years. I tried to quit. That was when I quit for like 6 months, and then I had the bachelor party. And then in 2019, I had just an opportunity to be a foreman. I wanted to do a good job. I was working and now
Mhm.
I'm working in the jobs changed to where I was working in hospitals, when I was working with near patients. And the first hospital job I did, we were at the labs for the Jimmy Fund,
Mhm.
and so that's the job that I quit on. I wanted to be the best that I could be, do this right. I was on like the top floor of the Jimmy Fund building. Like I can't fuck this up. And I knew that if I did good on that one, I'd kind of be able to be a hospital guy. This is what everybody talks about in the
You didn't
industry.
quit your job. You quit drinking.
And I quit drinking. Yeah, I
Yeah.
quit drinking
Okay.
on that job.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Right.
Yeah. No,
Sounded
so
like you
on
went to the Jimmy Fund and you were like, "Fuck this, I quit."
no, I was on that job, and it was just like I felt like I went from being a number two guy to where now that guy got pulled off, and now I was the guy I got left to finish the job. It was like my first one with this company. I just wanted to do good. I
Mhm.
quit drinking, and I've just been doing better since. I kind of been in the hospital since that job.
Mhm. How do you
which
like
is an
hospitals compared to everything else? Like, what's different about it other than, maybe the atmosphere and the purpose that you're serving?
a lot more thinking. There's a lot more thinking involved, a lot more planning. It's not. I'd like to say it's not as backbreaking if you were on like a big build, say.
Hmm.
And if you were like right now, we have jobs in the seaport. Like imagine working in the seaport right now in an open structure.
So this is a huge point. When people think construction, they think that everything's like new buildings. It's not always new buildings.
It's not always new building. A
Every
lot of us are indoors, like
no, there's a
State
hundred
Street.
million. There's 100 million
There's
structures, commercial structures in the country right now. They all need to be renovated. Small moves, adds, changes. There's
some of
always
these
construction going
skyscrapers
on.
in Boston, and people don't want to hear it. Some of these floors are riddled with asbestos. They shut the whole floor down. They demo it all the way down to the studs. Like you're talking about a
Yeah.
50, 60-story building. They'll
Mhm.
redo the entire floor. If you do that would take a year. That would take a year.
Yeah.
You'll put 40 to 100 people to work for a
Yeah.
year, and that's one floor in one building, and it's probably not even the building owner. It's probably just someone that wants to rent that floor out and put their firm there or something.
It's
There's
funny.
so much work to be had.
I was just talking to somebody before this. I did a coaching call for a kid that's thinking about going into HVAC, and I explained that to him. He thinks that being a GC will allow him to jump from job to job and have because he wants a scenery change frequently. I'm like, dude,
They're there the
you want
longest.
to? Yeah, we're there the longest, and I have to deal with all kinds of crap that I wish I didn't have to deal with. I would love to go back into the MEP world and not talk about carpet and paint. Trust me, I would love to. and and I was just explaining to him like, you want to go into HVAC or sprinkler or electrical or plumbing. You're on there for a couple days or a couple weeks at a time. You're on to the next one. You're on to the next one. You're on to the next one. Your scenery is changing all the time.
Especially as
and you're out of the weather. Like if you're on an interior
weather.
renovation, you are out of the weather.
And if you're on a job that's open, my trick is always you got to make friends with the fireproofers, man. The guys that are spraying the beams.
Why?
So we did a couple cold jobs, and to spray those beams, that whole mixture is mostly water. So they tarp the floor. They'll tarp 2 or 3 floors. They'll put heat in there. So if you're okay with having shitty outfits covered with that stuff, your boots are all caked up, but you are now enclosed in his little area, they'll usually let you. And that's how you can somehow beat the cold. But that's probably the worst part of doing construction in New England. You're gonna have it. You're gonna have a job. I did on one Canal Street. It was the coldest job of my life.
Oh, yeah.
We were pushing the ladder through. My first step was under snow. Snow was sideways. You were just pushing the ladder through the snow. It was like 0 degrees, and it was like that like the whole winter. It was the coldest winter
when
ever.
was that job? That was a couple years ago.
That was probably in 15. Yeah. Oh yeah. That was I was drinking during those 15.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that's Sully's Tap is about a block and a half away.
Oh yeah, Sully's Tap was frequented in that job.
So,
but yeah, that was a cold one, man. I'll remember that as like the coldest job that I ever worked on.
Listen, I've done interiors, predominantly for my career, and I wouldn't change it for the world because number one, you're out of the weather. Number two, the jobs are shorter, right? So listen, we all love our clients, right? That's how we all make money. But if you have a client that sucks or a design team that sucks or a sub team that sucks, or maybe you don't like your own team, you're not stuck with them for 3 or 4 years as a GC on a major job.
In and out.
And on the interior, you're 12 to 24 weeks typically, maybe a year at the most. And you're on to the next one. You're on to the next one. Also, you're building a network, right? Like you said, you got to, when you wanted a new job, you knew people to call, right? Every job you touch, that's a different design team. That's a different field team. That's different trades that you're going to work with. There's a tremendous benefit to having a growing network. And in my opinion, the interior renovation world, although it's less sexy to, people that want to get into the industry, there's way more upside to it, in my opinion. I don't know,
a lot of sprinkler work,
but on every job.
Every job, yeah.
Every job.
That's what I'm doing. I'm doing all interior. Like I was put in charge during the beginning of the little sickness thing that we just went through. In 2020, I was put in charge of a full 400,000 square foot hospital build, ground up. I went there before they even started digging, and I was there till the very last discussion. I'm still there. and 4,600 sprinkler heads, and that was at times cold. But because of that, and because I think I stepped up to the plate, I was able to earn a van spot. And now I just go and do those little, like you're saying, interior ones where it's like 40 heads,
Mhm.
10 heads, 2 heads, 50 heads. Or we go over here and we
Right.
put up a temp standpipe, or
Yeah.
you're doing
And
things
it's
where the van is because there's not tools there. Whereas if your job site has tools, you don't need a van guy.
interior renovations, good way to go.
It is.
Sometimes, but to your point, sometimes you gotta bite the bullet and you gotta suck it up and you gotta take an opportunity to make a name for yourself. And when you do that, a lot of guys say that if you just put in a good 5 hard years of work, you make a reputation for yourself and then you do whatever the hell you want.
It's kind of true.
Yeah. So before we wrap it up, I want you to brag about your platform and what you're able to build. I love pointing out to young people the construction influencer world. Your following is growing super fast. I think I started following you. You maybe had 1,000 or 2,000 followers. Now you got like 20,000 followers. It's going. Dope and Tape podcast. Talk about your platform and what you've been able to do. What kind of traffic you've been able to generate as an influencer.
So we'll take it back to I graduated from Leominster High School in 2008, and then I was able to do construction in Leominster High School in 2011. I did that till 2013. I got Instagram in 2012, and you can go all the way back on my page and see the manifold and the valve station that I built at Leominster High School from 2012. That's how long I've been posting on this platform, and um, the problem with it was that I was drinking the whole time, and I might have been posting too much of my opinion and a lot of political stuff. It never grew until I finally I had the realization once I had a sober mind. I said, I'm going to grow this thing. No political, none of my opinion. It's going to only be fire protection, because at the time there was one page. It's Sprinkler Life. You got to shout him out. I got his hat right here. So I noticed that anytime I tagged him, he would share me to his page. This guy had like 10,000 followers at the time. He would share me, and so I just started doing that every day. I would put something sprinkler. I would share him, and then they came out with reels. I started making reels, and I just started to get some traction. I got like 1,000 followers. I started meeting people like you. And I seen the plumbers out there, man. I seen the electricians. I seen the tin knockers and the carpenters and the landscape guys and the trucking industry. I'm like, where are all the sprinkler fitters on this damn app? I know they're there. I'm just going to start flooding this app with everything that I do every day. And it's been working. And in that, I met Brian Williams from Atlanta, and
Right.
we got invited on a podcast. And after that, I was like, I was streaming video games. I wouldn't have anybody watching, but I was streaming video games, so I knew how to stream. And I literally was like, why don't we do a Zoom call and we'll just go live? I could stream it and we'll talk about work. And everyone was like, you can talk about work? How's that going to? So now we have 108 episodes of Dope and Tape podcast. It's actually the Dope and Tape live show. We go live every Tuesday and Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern. And we talk to mostly fire protection professionals, engineers, design guys, fire alarm inspectors, nice set people, fitters. 108 episodes is probably 100 people, 100 different people that are within the industry. But we've had people like yourself. I don't know if you're
Yep.
familiar with Joe Kelly from Mass Construction. We've had electricians and plumbers. So we'll have other people from the industry, but basically we just talk for an hour about work, and it's getting views, and now it's getting us sponsorships to go to trade shows. We were at NFPA in 2023. We were also at AFSA in 2023. We're going to both of those this year. We'll be at NFPA in June in Orlando. We'll be at AFSA in Denver in September. And those are sponsored because of the Dope and Tape show that we started. And really the Instagram platform, I'm kind of just trying to funnel people there and just trying to build a community of sprinkler fitters. The sprinkler fitters had nowhere to go.
Right.
They were following the plumbing pages and they were following but now,
Man, I got to tell you, one thing that I loved about being on your show was the live interaction, right? Like you guys have people actively messaging you, whether it's Canada or the US, all over the place.
and they're commenting live on the show, and that
yeah.
is a wicked cool aspect. So because you could be watching on Facebook, Twitch, or YouTube, and then you could see the comments, and I read them live. So they ask the guest questions and they respond, and a lot of people pick on Brian because he's from Georgia. So that was another thing, is that he is probably one of the best sales guys, fire sprinkler sales guys in the country, maybe in the world, as far as selling inspections and selling jobs. He's the best. And he also is second generation inspector. Now I'm third generation fitter, install
Mm.
guy. I feel like if we had some kind of head-to-head install or piping heads or trimming a valve or something like that, I feel like I'm getting the gold medal every time
You could give it
at
to
that
him.
competition. Yeah. And so together, he knows all the sales and all the inspections, and I know the whole fitter thing, and we kind of make a great team to interview someone from our industry.
Mm.
And it's really taken off.
Yeah, I mean, listen. First of all, your Instagram. If you want a glimpse into what it is to be a sprinkler fitter, or into the industry in general, I genuinely don't think that there is a better person out there to follow. You put up more content, quality content, diverse content for what you're doing every day. It's awesome to follow. And if you wanted to go catch that live show, it goes up on YouTube, right?
Yep, YouTube. We're going live tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern.
So tomorrow night, well,
Dope and tape.
I'm not going to post this till next week, but it's on Tuesdays and Thursdays. You said,
Yep.
Dope and Tape live show or podcast. What do you type into the search engine?
You could just type Google. You could go to Google, type in Dope and Tape, you'll see it. But if you go to YouTube, type in Dope and Tape, or Twitch or Facebook, you'll find us. And if you want to find me on Instagram, it's Blue Collar Bobby. Same thing on TikTok. I'm not as active on TikTok, but I'm trying.
Yeah, I struggle with it. It just
I
doesn't
know.
appeal to me. It's just not something I gravitate towards. I don't gravitate towards LinkedIn either.
LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn. And the thing about LinkedIn is I just if my videos do good on Instagram, I save it and I put it on LinkedIn, and like nobody's doing that. You don't go on LinkedIn and see like the Instagram style videos that I'm putting. So I do it, and it's like, I don't know, it's different. So it gets some attention. I'll get like what is it called on LinkedIn? Interactions.
Mm.
Get like a bunch of interactions from a video like that.
Yeah.
But it's fun. It's a hobby, and I think that when I quit drinking, that's when my social media was. A lot of these things took off in my life when I got sober.
I agree, man. I think I was so pissed off for a lot of reasons at the world, my life, mistakes that I made in 2020. I kind of came to the same realization. And the more I didn't drink, the more I didn't drink. When I used to be the opposite, it's like the country song, the more I drank, the more I drink.
Mm.
The more productive I am, the more I'm able to do things like this show. One of these days I'll talk about, the opportunities that have come out of me doing this show and the platform. I have some pretty important people that sign my paychecks to follow.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
And it's put me on some people's radar.
Same for us, man. You're getting out there and you're just putting your name out there, and people that are in your industry and pertain to what you do, they see you.
I think good. I've said this before, but it's like when you have a light and you shine that light, a few things are going to happen. Number one, darkness is going to go away, right? And if you're not drinking, then you have the ability to shine that light. That darkness that comes from drinking is going to go. When you were shining that light, people could see you, right? And people either need that for inspiration, or they need that value that all of a sudden they realize that you're bringing that they didn't know what was there before, right? So there's people around the world now that know Bobby and Brian from Dope and Tape that otherwise they wouldn't have known you. Just the people that would have been on your job sites would have known you. And there's a tremendous amount of value in it.
Have you been seen in public? I appreciate that. Have you been seen in public?
I have
and
somebody
like called out.
So people that have seen me don't approach me. They DM me, and I'm like,
oh, like a photo, or they
dude,
just say like, oh, I just seen you.
Yeah, they're like, oh, like, do you live in Florida? Were you just at Home Depot? And I'm like, yeah, dude. Like, dude, come say hi. Yeah.
I was waiting for a GC. I was sitting out front of a building in the van. I was waiting for a GC, and this guy's coming up. He looks like your typical guy, like just got out of Wentworth, and he's coming to, manage me. And so I jump out to shake his hand. I think we're gonna walk into the building, and he's like, "Blue Collar Bobby, I follow you on Instagram, man. I'm a huge fan." And I was like, that was the first time ever. I was so taken aback. I was like, it was probably like from his standpoint, he probably thought I was like an asshole. Like, I didn't know what to say. Like, I thought you were the super. Like, oh, nice to meet you. Thank you so much. Let me give you some stickers. But then when I traveled to AFSA just recently in Orlando, like, people be yelling my name. I don't even know where it's coming from. I don't know where it's coming from or who's yelling it, but it's like it's weird. It's cool. It's weird.
I'm thinking about going up to a trade show in Providence in March.
Yeah.
I forget what it's called.
I'll meet you.
Yeah, I'll let you know when I'm coming. I think it's March 20th to the 22nd. It's like Wednesday through Thursday.
Yeah,
So
let me
I'm gonna
know.
find
I'll meet you there.
I'm probably gonna find a reason to come up. My
Is it an
office is
expo?
down. It's something expo, yeah.
Yeah, let me know.
My office is downtown, so I was either gonna hop on the train or try and get a ride from somebody down to Providence, and then maybe fly back to Florida from Providence or something. So
we're coming to Orlando in June.
yeah, let me know. I might be up for that. Depending on, so I have a daughter coming in at the end of April, beginning of May, and as long as everything's kosher there, I'll be down to go.
Awesome.
My wife had a tough recovery last time, so hopefully my shit only comes up to about here on me. I'm like 6'3", 220. She's about arguably 4'11", 105 pounds, soaking wet. So
my wife doesn't do good in labor either.
Yeah, I don't know if there's gonna be another one after this, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think so. I think we're done too. Two is it.
Well, all right, man. I appreciate you coming on. I think tremendous amount of value here. Again, go follow Blue Collar Bobby. One of the best out there if you want to glimpse into the industry and what it's like and what people actually do, especially for one of the trades that pays the best no matter what market you're in. But again, that number for a foreman in Boston is $144,000 a year. That is an incredible number. And if you're not a foreman, it's $136,000 a year. So if that's an opportunity that interests you, go on Google, call up the shops, try and get it into a van, sign up in June. And if you're interested in any other trade, get vigilant, get online, find out when the signups are. And Bobby, you got anything else?
If you were trying to get into the sprinkler industry and you need some help, DM me on Instagram, Blue Collar Bobby. I'd be happy to help you. And if you could please go and subscribe to the Dope and Tape Show on YouTube, we'd greatly appreciate it.
All right, man. Well said. I appreciate it, Bobby. Thank you.